Hey guys, how's everybody doing? We are at 1 o'clock and you are all here, so we're going to go ahead and we are going to get started. We've got a big, busy day today. We have projects, we start a new book, we start new vocabulary. I know, Timmy, I'm good because of Narnia too. Always a good day when we're going to move into Narnia. But first, we have finished up our final book of the Space Trilogy, and so we are going to finish that out. So we have finished all of our good beginning C.S. Lewis deep theological philosophical discussions. We're going to move into a little bit of a lighter reading time here with Narnia. Not all of it, some of it gets a little deep, but let's go into that first. So let's talk about our Space Trilogy. Who wants to go into their project first? I'm super excited. Okay, I had Amelia and then Savannah. So Amelia, I am going to let you share your project first, and then we'll go into Savannah, and we'll move forward from there. Okay? And you guys don't think I'm being rude. I just haven't had a second. Okay, Lydia, we'll do yours too to eat, and so I'm going to eat while you guys talk. So ignore me. Okay.
Okay, can everybody see that?
Yeah.
All right, so this was my project. I made like the circles, because you came up with that whole thing with what characters correspond with what circles of hell.
Yes.
So I made each of the circles of hell and drew each of the characters. And hold on a second, I had a write-up that went with that, but I don't know where my mom put it. So I'm just going to go ask her.
Okay.
Oh, okay, it's in the front of my binder. Here it is. All right, so each of the characters, I started with the gate, and I've got Curry and Mark, and those are self-serving people. And then I've got Circle 1, which is Limbo, and that's virtual pagan. So I have Jewel and Glossip. Circle 2 is lustful people, which Mark is in that circle. And then Circle 3 is Gluttons, and I've got Curry, Busby, Feverstone, and Mark. Then I've got Circle 4, which is greedy people, so I've got Mark and Lord Feverstone. And then Circle 5, which is wrathful and sullen people, and there's Cosser and Steele and Mark. And Circle 6, which is heretics, and I've got Mark and Reverend Drake. Circle 7, violent people, Fairy Hardcastle and Mark. Circle 8, fraudulent people, Mark, and then he's running out of there at that point. And then Circle 9 is betrayers of humanity, and that's Wither and Frost. So my write-up got to be really long because I basically wrote a paragraph for each one, and it took, as you know, Mrs. Smith, it took a really long time to write up. So I was wondering each person could pick a circle they want to hear about, but I'm not going to read all of them because that would take too long.
I think that's a good idea, Amelia. So
Thank you.
I would like to hear about the Limbo.
All right. At the college meeting, we meet some virtuous but not Christian people, namely Ken and Jewel and the classic scholar Glossip. They are mocked behind their backs by Curry, who calls them diehards or obstructionists, and Feverstone goes as far as to mock Jewel to his face to get him to shut up, so the progressive element can pass their motion. In Chapter 7, Section 4, Feverstone says, "If Ken and Jewel wishes us not to hear his views, I suggest that his end could be better attained by silence." This makes sense that Curry and Feverstone would be opposed to Jewel because he does not share their modernist, anti-nature, and materialist views. This can be seen in Chapter 7 when Jewel says he would sooner have every tree in the wood felled to the ground than see it caged in barbed wire. The sad irony of this is that every tree in the wood did end up getting felled to the ground by the NICE after they purchased it from Bragdon. That's the end of the paragraph. Thank you. What do you want to hear about, Savannah and Lydia and Timmy?
I want to hear about The last one, Betrayers of Humanity with Wither and Frost.
And Timmy has said number 7. So after you do number 9, he would like number 7.
Okay. All right. So circle 9 is traitors. Now we reach the worst circle of all, traitors. Dante thought traitors to family, country, and faith were bad. What would he say if he met 2 people who were traitors to humanity? 2 people who cackled gleefully as they embraced each other. In an embrace they both looked as if they were trying desperately to escape. 2 people who worshipped the severed head of a criminal with a swollen brain that boils out of the top of a removed skull cap, which is only the vehicle by which evil Eldila, devils, tell them to do dastardly deeds. One of these 2 traitors to humanity with his big face, vague and chaotic eyes, and white hair, and this is a quote, a shapeless ruin. The other with his opaque, pierced as pointed beard, whiteness of forehead, and arctic smile, the hard, bright little needle. Wither and Frost. Chapter 14, Section 1. They were, in a sense, playing quite fair with him, offering him the very same initiation through which they themselves had passed, which had divided them so far from humanity. I am so glad Mark escaped from Wither and Frost in the 9th circle of hell. So that's the end. Thank you. All right. Timmy wants to hear circle 7. And Timmy, I actually went back and listened to the recording so I could get a quote from you for circle 7. If I can find it. Ah, here it is. All right. Violent people. We will now discuss Evil Woman Fairy Hardcastle, so nicknamed by Timmy, supervising the NICE secret police, chewing an unlit black cheroot cigar in her short-skirted uniform and telling her smoking room stories. Mrs. Hardcastle is not the type of person anybody in their right mind would want to get to know better, except for Mark. I have no idea why. She calls him Sonny. She makes him feel awkward and horrified. However, she also manipulates his neediness to be in the inner circle, so he is somewhat compelled to listen to and obey her. Even Feverstone himself said, "Just between ourselves, I wouldn't be too thick with the fairy." But Mark does not listen, and this is to his demise. Who do you think it was who stole Mark's wallet? It went missing right after he met Mrs. Hardcastle for the first time. Who do you think it was who was responsible for the murder of William Hingest? Just listen to this quote from Chapter 3, Section 4, and you will know. "Bill," said the fairy, suddenly from the far side of the table, in a voice so loud that even he could not ignore it. Hingest fixed his eyes upon her, and his face grew a dark red. "Is it true," bawled the fairy, "that you are going off by car immediately after dinner?" "Yes, Mrs. Hardcastle, it is." "I was wondering if you could give me a lift." "I should be happy to do so," said Hingest in a voice not intended to deceive, "if we were going in the same direction." "Where are you going?" "I'm going to Edgestowe." "Will you be passing by Brentstock?" "No, I leave the bypass at the crossroads just beyond Lord Hollywood's front gate and go down what used to be called Potter's Lane." "Oh, darn, no good to me. I may as well wait till the morning." Now hear this quote from Chapter 4, Part 4. Bill the Blizzard had been discovered, with his head beaten in by some blunt instrument, lying near his car in Potter's Lane at about 4 o'clock that morning. Miss Hardcastle is undoubtedly a violent person, and for closing of this paragraph, I will leave you with a quote from Evil Lady Fairy Hardcastle herself from Chapter 8, Part 4. "You won't find anyone could do a job like mine well unless they get some kick out of it." Thank you.
Very good. And I think Lydia is the only one that we are missing. Lydia, is that right?
Oh, by the way, I used a razor blade to cut them out.
Oh, okay.
That's like, it was a very interesting process, and it was actually fun to punch them out afterwards after I'd cut all around them.
I was really interested in Circle 4.
All right. I'm glad you picked that one because that one's like one of my favorite circles to read about because it has a really funny example. All right. Here's Circle 4. I must at this point tell you that I think as Mark progresses further in, he takes on the color and aspects of every circle he goes through. In the gate, he was self-serving. By the time he got to the third circle, he was behaving like a glutton. Now, in the fourth circle, we see him being extremely greedy and trying to hold down a job at Bragdon and at the NICE, as if Bragdon wasn't enough. So when he begins to feel like he is falling between two stools in Chapter 5, Section 2, he has a conversation with Feverstone to try to get information. Feverstone is also being greedy in this passage, as can be seen in his consumption of a muffin, the whole thing in one large bite. There are many more examples of this greedy and wasteful behavior in Feverstone. In earlier books, while he is under the name Divine, remember on Malacandria with the sun's blood? This muffin example, however, was in the passage, so I took it and ran with it. I also like this example because I find it humorous. Do you know, said Feverstone, helping himself to a muffin, I find your style of conversation rather difficult. You will come up for re-election in a few months. The college may decide to re-elect you, or of course it may not. As far as I can make out, you are at present attempting to canvass my vote in advance, to which the proper answer is the one I now give. Go to heck. Mom substituted some of the words, like, darn and heck. You know perfectly well that there was no doubt about re-election until you spoke a word in Curry's ear. Feverstone eyed the muffin critically. You make me rather tired, he said. If you don't know how to steer your own course in a place like Bragdon, why come pester me? I'm not a bucking nurse. And, for your own good, I would advise you to adopt a more agreeable manner than you are using now. Otherwise, your life may be, in the famous words, nasty, poor, brutish, and short. Short, said Mark. Is that a threat? Do you mean my life at Bragdon or at the NICE? I shouldn't stress the distinction much if I were you, said Feverstone. I shall remember that, said Mark, rising from his chair. As he made to move away, he couldn't help turning to the smiling man and once again saying, It was you who brought me here. I thought you at least were my friend. Incurable romantic, said Feverstone, deftly extending his mouth in an even wider grin and swallowing the muffin entire. And thus Mark knew that if he lost the Bellbury job, he would lose his fellowship at well. We see here that Feverstone is taking advantage of Mark's gullible greediness and causing him to feel a sense of urgency over something that is several months away, namely Mark's re-election for his fellowship at Bragdon. He is also eating a muffin whole. This is the end of the paragraph. Thank you. He's just like, wait, that's what he's kind of supposed to be doing.
Lydia, you were asking the same thing I was thinking, because I was like, is he going like this? I'm hoping.
No, he's supposed to be going like this. I'm just really bad at drawing hands.
I mean, they are in hell, but yeah. Okay. Okay. Very good job. Amelia, this is beautiful. So I want to know, is it drawn on chalk? What is your background there?
Edward was getting boards for his little IO that he was doing for a speech and debate club, and they're like basically black foam boards that are like covered by construction paper. I don't really know what they are.
Okay. And so you've just drawn like these concentric circles and then cut out your people and put them on there.
Yeah, and I drew other stuff with a white paint pen. And originally I was going to color them in, but I actually thought they looked better like white because I thought...
I like them like this. I think they stand out and they pop more. I really like this.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very great job. Very, very good job. Fantastic project. Very impressive.
Thanks,
like
guys.
Very good. All right. So next would be, I think, Savannah, were you next? Am I right? Okay. All right. So you may go whenever you are ready.
Okay, so I actually have a real quick question about how it ended up being turned in. So if you want to just get that out of the way now before I share it, is that okay?
Sure, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I turned it in at actually I got it in at 11:59 because I was proofreading it, and so that ended up taking a little longer than I expected. And I got it in at 11:59, but when I turned it in, it said it was an hour late, and I was really confused because I thought I got it in on time, but then I realized that the
time.
different time zone situations.
Yeah.
So it would have been 10:59 my time, but I forgot about that. So I thought I handed it in on time, but
Okay. It's
so
fine. As long as you turned it in last night, it's totally fine.
all right, thank you.
Totally fine.
Okay, so I'll just start sharing my screen. Okay, so what I did was let me get this out. I wrote a short story. Oh, whoops. A short story. It's 9 pages, so it's not like super short. So I'm not going to read it today because that would take a long time. Because it's not like a 3-page short story. So what I figured I could do, if it's okay with you, is share the link to this Google Doc page in the chat, and if you guys want to read it later, you can have the chance to do that. So that's up to you if that'd be okay.
Yeah, I think that would be great, Savannah. And I think maybe if you wanted to read maybe like the first page-ish or so,
Yeah,
that
that'd be fun.
kind of give us a little teaser, that would be good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so what this was for was I took all the vocab words and used them in a story. The one word that I wasn't able to find a place for was distributivism.
Yeah.
So I replaced that with the word akimbo because I really liked that word from one of our past vocab lists.
That's
So,
good. That's okay.
okay, so I can read like the first page. So, and it's called No Man Left Behind. Margaret Price felt an overwhelming sensation of malaise as an ethereal sliver of light came into her line of vision. She was opening her eyes for the first time after being unconscious or sleeping, she couldn't be sure which, for how long she did not know. Margaret shielded her eyes a bit more to avoid the result of being blinded. She squinted at her surroundings. How in heaven's name did she come to be passed out on the beach in a dingle of sorts? At first, her memory was a jumbled gallimaufry of split-second scenarios and lightning-quick flashbacks, until she was finally in the state of mind to put the pieces together. Margaret held her pounding head and squinted her eyes harder, as though it would help her see her elusive recollections in the distance. Last night, John Mason, a friend living a few blocks away from Margaret's flat in London, was hosting a party to celebrate his new promotion. While Margaret would usually exercise the trait of indolence when it came to such frivolities, she could not help but celebrate good-naturedly with her habitually private friend. The fact that her 43-year-old bachelor friend had enough money for 3 families did nothing to keep him from throwing a party for his recent business promotion. It was a mildly mannered gathering until John invited everyone onto his yacht. John had a few people whom he liked to call close friends, so he considered it a high honor for the 11 guests to be invited to his party and especially onto his yacht. As I alluded to before, the party was mildly mannered until the gathering moved to the yacht. As the evening went on and it got later and later on the night ocean, more ruckus and clamor was dished out and the party animals came alive on the yacht. Margaret's lucidity returned to her as she remembered what happened. John had stopped the yacht at a small island off the coast of the UK around midnight. No one knew who the quaint island belonged to, or if it belonged to anyone at all for that matter. Nobody was really in the state of mind to care much about such things. Margaret remembered she got tired and ended up passing out on the beach. John Mason and the others had evidently unknowingly left poor Margaret behind in the dingle on the rocky beach. This morning, the result of last night was a very cross, exhausted Margaret Price, mainly known as Peggy to her friends. She sat cross-legged on the beach with the most dyspeptic, ornery expression on her face. Without much time to sulk in her angry self-pity, Margaret noticed a sudden coruscation on the blue water, different from any other light reflecting off the waves. Her amber eyes flitted back and forth on the Atlantic Ocean. She wanted to be 100% certain that what she was seeing wasn't just an illusion or some other misleading consequence from last night's Carte Blanche party. Margaret was certain it was not a figment of her imagination, but a huge white cruise ship gliding peacefully off the waters, like a serene, undisturbed swan. The ship's peace, however, would soon be disrupted and put to an end if Peggy succeeded in flagging it down. She started... Sorry, I lost my place. She started jumping up and down and screaming, yelling, and flailing her arms about in the least unobtrusive way she could think to do. Such actions are dreadfully unladylike, her stuffy grandmother would say with a deprecatory sniff, but such actions were probably what saved Peggy's life this time, for the cruise ship was now turning toward the island. With a cry of joy, this was the last thing Peggy saw before passing out onto the coarse sand again. Peggy awoke once again with a start, but this time she came to in a very uncomfortable creaky bed. Not only did the bed creak, but so did the walls, and frankly, the whole room. The room creaked as it swayed from the motion of rhythmic waves. Margaret deduced right away that she must be on the cruise ship. The swaying of the vessel was more than Peggy could bear. She looked around the room for a bucket, anything to vomit into. There were 3 other beds in the room. All were lined up against one of the walls. A chest with a flat lid served as a coffee table-like piece in the middle of the room. 2 gaslit lamps occupied the cabin as well, along with other miscellaneous objects that had no apparent order, but no buckets. The chiming ocean waves were still having the most devilish effect on her stomach. Peggy jumped out of bed. She immediately fell to the floor with a thud. She moaned as she pushed herself up, this time without such unscrupulous haste. Our 25-year-old redhead stumbled for the door, then burst outside to all sorts of sounds and smells. But the first thing that hit her, quite literally, was a voluminous wave of ocean water. And that's kind of where the first page ends. I'll continue the paragraph. Peggy gasped in surprise, too taken aback to say or curse anything. As she wiped her face with an already wet hand, she heard a hearty laugh come up next to her. Then a gravelly voice said, "That be the morning ocean waves greeting ya, ha ha." So I'll stop there.
Yay, very good job. Very good job. It makes me definitely want to read more, Savannah. It's very good.
Awesome.
And I love your use of the vocabulary words. I love it. I think that's very creative, and I like seeing them in there now that we all know them and all that good stuff. So very nice job. Very nice.
Thank you so much. So I'll just get the link and put it in the chat.
Yeah, that's good. That's fine.
And you guys can click on it and go to it later.
Okay.
Stop share.
So Amelia, I'm sorry, not Amelia. Lydia, did you want to go next?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So whenever you are ready, you may go.
I just had a quick question for Savannah. What was the story about again?
It's mainly about Margaret who got stuck on that island, and then the cruise ship picks her up. And I don't want to give anything away, but basically the cruise ship is different from most cruise ships, and the captain is kind of crazy. So some stuff happens. Yeah, but I don't want to give any spoilers, so that's all I'm gonna say for now.
It sounds super interesting, Savannah. I'm excited.
Thank you.
It was a really good story.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you seeing? Are you seeing this or are you seeing my PowerPoint?
I see an exploding firework color thing.
Okay, then wrong one. Can you see it now?
Yes. Now we see a PowerPoint-ish thing. Yeah.
Okay, so for this I decided to do the book poster thing.
Awesome. Okay.
Are you guys seeing the picture show up with the words?
Yes.
Okay. So this was basically, I just jotted down some sentences, and then for the pictures, it was a representation of what I thought the characters would look like in real life. So obviously that's Mr. Bultitude the bear. And then Fairy Hardcastle, she's a character from a TV show that I watch because there's unfortunate events. And this is, I don't know his last name, but his name was Tom, and that's Sybil, and they're supposed to represent Mark Stoddick and James Stoddick. And they're from a TV show called Downton Abbey. And Frost, I think he's in, I should have pulled up the Dropbox. I know I should have. He's from a movie called The Crimes of, I think it's Grindelwald.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he looks like he could be a Frost.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, I guess I just jotted down some sentences, but that was really it.
So your sentences say, the final adventure in the space trilogy all leads to the final book, That Hideous Strength, is written by renowned author C.S. Lewis. The force of evil has never been stronger. Reunite with Ransom as his journey continues with a completely new task on Earth. Meet these new characters and many others. Very good. Good job, Lydia. Very good job, Lydia.
Thanks.
Yay. All right. Okay, and Timmy, whenever you are ready, you may share your project. Wonder where Savannah went. I hope she's okay. All right, Timmy, you're starting to share. Okay. Oh, Timmy did a task. Okay. Timmy, are you looking how to make it full page? If you are, if you go up to view, up at the top bar, it should give you a full page view if that's what you're searching for. Hey, Timmy, can you unmute and communicate with me? Hello? Is your mic not working again today? Okay. Well, how about this, Timmy? How about if you try to get your mic working by next week, and then if you remind me, then you can share next week. Does that sound good? Maybe you can just ask us a few questions next week. Okay, that's good. Yeah, because I would rather you do that than we just kind of look at your test, and that would kind of involve you doing the presenting, since part of your grade is part of that. So let's plan on doing that, and you just remind me, okay? Yeah, it does look really good, Timmy. It looks really good. So yeah, just try to get that speaker fixed by next week so that we can all, you can quiz us and we can either miss or get your test questions correct. So that'll be good. All right, very good job on presentations and projects. Very nice job. Yes, a round of applause for all. Very good job. I am super impressed with the presentations and projects this time. I'm excited to dive in and read some of them, since some of them came in a little late last night, but that is exciting. So we are on a whole new set of vocab, and after today's class, I'm going to send you my vocabulary words, the list that I have. But until then, we are going to play Bamboozle with our vocabulary. You can get your list out. So if you remember any of them, or if you have your list, you can kind of use it as a reference sheet for that. So we will start with Amelia and go Amelia, Lydia, Savannah, Timmy. And I've got to write that down so I know it, since that is the way you are. Lydia, I have to make mine a little shorter too, because some of those were pretty long. Okay, Amelia, what number would you like to start with?
Okay, can I do number 16?
Number 16, you can. This means a stimulating medicine or drink, a liquor.
Cordial.
Very good. That one should be a pretty easy one for us because of little Lucy. Lucy's cordial. Okay. Lydia, I think you're next.
Number 1.
Number 1. Okay. To emit a high shrill tone of a chanter. To emit a high shrill tone like that of a chanter.
I don't think I know this one off the bat.
That's a skirling.
Okay.
Okay, Savannah.
Okay, number 14.
Number 14. Okay. Older word for radio.
Wireless.
Wireless. Very good. Very good. Okay, Timmy. Oh, let's see. I forgot Timmy. Sorry. Number 20, he says. Okay. Small, common, harmful, or objectionable animals such as lice or fleas that are difficult to control. And Timmy says vermin, and that is correct. I don't know why, but I love the word vermin. Okay, Amelia.
Can I do 7?
Yes, you may. Number 7. Okay. A decorative chain or strip hanging between 2 points. We usually have some of these during Christmas time.
Festoon.
A festoon. Think of festive. Festoon. That will help you remember. Okay, Lydia.
Number 24.
24. Okay. Mentally unstable or crazy.
Is it Batty or Beatty?
How dare you call me Batty? Yes, it is Batty. Okay, Savannah.
Number 10.
Number 10. Okay. A compound made from the wood and bark of the camphor tree used as an analgesic in medicine.
Oh. I don't think I remember that one.
This one is camphor. Any of you ever had Vicks Vapor Rub?
Yeah.
That's kind of like a camphor. Kind of like that smell. Yeah, that's the smell. All right, Timmy. Timmy says number 15. Okay. Associate or spouse? Associate or spouse? Timmy's chat says 20, Vermin's 15. It's just funny for me. 20, Vermin's 15. What do you think, Timmy? Sorry, you guys. It booted me out for some reason. I didn't even lose my internet. I don't know what that was. Okay. Timmy, what did you say? Did I miss it? I'm sorry. Will you retype it, Timmy? Did you have an answer? Hold on one second. Let me go into the chat. Starts with a C, C-O. How about consort? My consort. Okay, we are, let's see, we are back to Amelia.
Can I do 9?
Number 9. Okay, a noisy disturbance or quarrel.
Row.
A row. We're having a row, you and I are. We're really not. Okay, all right. So, Lydia.
Number 12.
Number 12. Okay. To associate or mingle, to be friendly or amiable.
Sad, fraternize.
Fraternize. Very good. Fraternize. Very good. Okay, Savannah.
Number 8.
Number 8. Okay. Thief. One who offends or is obnoxious.
Um,
Savannah's bird is trying to help her.
yeah. Is that Bane?
It's prig.
Okay.
You're such a prig. Yeah, bane is like you're the bane of my existence, something that's terrible. Okay, Timmy, you're back to you, my friend. And Timmy says number 2. Okay, 20. Oh. $20. This word means 20. Four score and so years ago. I just gave it to you. What did you say? Let's see. Starts with an S, and it is score. Very good. Score. So score means 20. Okay? All right, Lydia.
Wait, did Timmy just go?
Yeah, so it's not you. Sorry. Amelia.
Okay, can I do 13?
13, yes. A loose sleeveless garment worn over, not a clothes, just clothes, a cloak.
Mantle.
Mantle. Very good job. Now, Lydia, your turn.
Number 18.
Number 18. Okay. Sugar tablet. A sugar tablet. What's another word for sugar? Starts with an
Sugar.
F.
Oh, okay. In my definitions, I said a different kind of tablet, so I can't answer that one. I said a different kind of tablet.
Okay, so it's a saccharin tablet. Remember the tablet definition that you guys had? It's a saccharin tablet. Okay, Savannah.
Number 19.
Number 19. Okay. Various wild cats. Puma, mountain lion, etc.
Oh, Catamountain.
Catamountain. Very good. Very good. Okay, Timmy, we're back to you. Number 17, you say. All right. A connected series of military operations forming a distinct phase of war or to bring a particular result. Starts with a C. And Timmy says, oh, no, that's it. What do you think, Timmy? Starts with a C. Yes, you can have your notes. Always when we're doing review, you can always have your notes. And for you, just because I'm going to let you have it, this one is campaign. Campaign. That's part of the military operation. All right. Next, we have Amelia again.
How about 3?
Number 3. Okay. A trick in war for deceiving and outwitting the enemy. A trick in war for deceiving and outwitting the enemy.
Stratagem.
Stratagem. Very, very good. Okay, Lydia?
Number 4.
Number 4. Okay. Musty. Musty. Kind of a grody word, isn't it? Musty. You don't want to walk in anywhere and it smells musty. But another word for musty is?
Is it? It's not frosty. It's
Yes, you can
Frost.
say frosty. Frosty, like Frosty the Snowman. They're not really, but frosty. All right, Savannah.
Number 6.
Number 6. Okay. Protection giving to a person passing through a military zone or occupied area.
Okay. I don't remember that one.
This one is safe conduct. Safe.
Oh, yeah.
Think about them being safe. Okay, Timmy. Number 5 says a military blockade of a city or fortified place to compel it to surrender. We've got these military ones. A military blockade of a city or a fortified place to compel it to surrender. A military blockade. All right, I'm going to give this one to you, Timmy. I'm going to give you about 5 more seconds. How about a siege? A siege. Okay, Amelia.
Can I do number 11? Since it's out in the middle of nowhere anyway.
A common Eurasian heath with purplish pink flowers.
Heather.
It's a heather. Yes, very good. A heather. Okay, Lydia.
21.
21. To give up, refuse, or resign as by formal declaration. To give up, refuse, or resign as by formal declaration.
I don't think.
Not safe.
What does it start with?
Oh, sorry, it's renounced. Sorry, I thought you were asking.
Okay.
Right, it's renounced. Like you renounce your throne, you refuse it, you give up, that sort of thing. All right, Savannah.
22.
22. Okay. Rearing up on hind legs with forelegs extended.
Oh,
Like this. Or maybe like this.
what does this start with?
Oh, I don't have my thing. I can tell you what it is.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Rampant.
Okay.
Well, I could have told you it started with an R. I don't know why I couldn't have said that. Sorry, rampant. It's like in heraldry, when you see those lions kind of reared it up, that's rampant. All right, last one, Timmy, and that is to sharpen by rubbing on or with something. To sharpen by rubbing on or with something. To sharpen by rubbing on or with something. All right, what does Timmy say? It does start with a W. Kind of an odd little word. The witch does it, yes. That's okay. It's wet. Wet. Not like wet fingers, but to kind of sharpen a knife or whatever. All right, very good job. Very good job on our vocabulary. Can you all see my PowerPoint on the share now? Okay, I'm gonna share it a little bit more full screen. Okay. Yes. All right, good job. So that was a very good job on our first round of vocabulary review. So let's do a little bit of review of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and the backstory. So most of us read this. Most of you probably have already read this before reading this for the class, which is going to be a good part about this book. But it is set in Britain. It is set, or in the United Kingdom, in World War II. We start out where we see the children kind of evacuating, and that was a government ordered evacuation. All the kids in London had to kind of leave the city to protect them from the bombings of the Nazis during something called the German Blitz or the Nazi Blitz. Sometimes those Blitz attacks would kill hundreds of people, even thousands of people at one time. They would have about 150 planes dropping bombs on the city. In one attack, they had about 14,000 people killed and 1,900 people injured. So they wanted to get all the children out of the city. So that's kind of the backstory as to why the children are going into the country. And the British are kind of a hardy people. If any of you have ever kind of looked into kind of British culture, they try to not be too happy, too excited, kind of business as usual kind of attitude. And this was kind of a big thing for them to take this kind of an action to have all of their children leave the city. Parliament has a place called the House of Lords. They lost their meeting chamber to a bomb during one of these blitzes, so they shared some space with the House of Commons, despite the fact that that chamber had a damaged roof. And as far as this kind of German blitz and getting the kids out of the city, or the Nazi blitz, the safety of these kids was the biggest issue. And the name of this kind of when kids left the city was Operation Pied Piper. How many of you ever heard about the Pied Piper, kind of leading kids out of the city with the flute? So that's why this was called Operation Pied Piper. It was about September of 1939, so it was a real thing. Children were taken by bus, by train to kind of safer areas, mostly out in the country. And this is where we kind of catch up with our little Pevensey children, right? This is where we first see them. So separate and apart from that, I want to talk to you guys about something that Lewis does and one of his compadres, Tolkien, does, and a lot of people during this time is they do something called subcreation. If you open up a book of Narnia, you're probably going to see like a map, maybe some descriptions of characters, some really fully developed plots, fully developed maps, all of that kind of good stuff. And there's a name for this. And the name for that is called subcreation. So for example, our earth is a creation, right? It was created by God. God gave people creative power. So when an author like Lewis creates a fictional world, we call it a junior or a sub version of the earth that God created. So it's not the same, but it's kind of a sub version of the earth that God created. So a sub creation will have a geography. Think there's a geography in Narnia. It'll have a biology, animals and people that live there, sociology and interaction between those life forms that live there, and a history just like Earth does. So that's called a sub-creation. It also includes kind of a really detailed written background. Like I said, it's going to have some maps, some really detailed illustrations. If any of you have ever done any theater work, if you're looking at a script for a play, this kind of sub-creation would be the backstory, or all the things leading up to that. So here's a little quote that will kind of help you understand sub-creation a little bit more. Tolkien believed that the art of true fantasy or fairy tale writing is sub-creation, creating another or secondary world with such skill that it has an inner consistency of reality. So sub-creation is very important in these works in that we really kind of get involved and kind of get so kind of caught up in it, we really think it's a real world of its own, right? So that's what we call sub-creation. So that's a little theme that I want you all to know. So that's it for the little introduction part, since we're only on chapters 1 through 5. A couple of things I want you guys to remember. We are in week 14 of our class. So next week, hello Savannah's puppy, will be our last week. So I know Timmy is really cute. Yes, and he invented his own language, Elvish. That's definitely part of sub-creation. A lot of these other authors will do the same thing now. That's kind of it's a little more common. But during Lewis's time, it was kind of a new technique, but that's the name for it, is sub-creation. So let's dive into chapters 1 through 5. What are the kids' names? We talked about the Pevensey children. Lydia, tell me the names of these children that we're studying so intently throughout this book.
Okay, so there's Peter. He's the eldest. I actually looked up their ages because I wasn't sure.
Nice.
He's supposed to be like 13. Susan's supposed to be 12. Evan's supposed to be like 10, and Lucy's supposed to be like 8 or something. But I do have a question. So I was looking at the chronological order of the books.
Yes.
I have read The Magician's Nephew, and that story takes place before Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So how come we're not reading that first?
So I was going to bring this up and discuss it in our one of our little pre-things. I thought I had talked about this last time, but I may not have. So there are 2 listings, and you're right. So they've been published in 2 different orders. So the C.S. Lewis folks from C.S. Lewis prefer that you start with a reading of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But if you go in their chronological order, you would start with The Magician's Nephew, and then would come The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and then The Horse and His Boy. So there's 2 ways that you can read it. But from everything that I have read from the people who actually kind of are coming from the C.S. Lewis Foundation organization, they want you to read it in the order of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, then Prince Caspian, then The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and all that. So I waffled back and forth on whether we were going to read them chronologically or not, and I've kind of decided to go the other way. Yes, Celia?
I feel like that's kind of important because there's a lot of references to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, especially in Magician's Nephew. Like, how all the comings and goings between our own world and the world of Narnia first began. If you didn't know what the world of Narnia was, you wouldn't know why that was significant.
Correct. And there's arguments for both sides in which way to read it. Some people feel very strongly about starting with Magician's Nephew. Others feel very strongly about starting with Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. But I think this way is a really great way. And you can read them the other way and see if it kind of make sense to you to do that or not. So it's kind of up to you. But we're going to start with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Timmy, next for us, I don't think we're reading The Magician's Nephew next. Let me look really quickly and I will be able to tell you what we read. Actually, let me look during the break and then I'll tell you. Yeah, I think it's way on down there, Amelia. I have a list somewhere, but I've got too many papers in front of me to look at it right now. But yeah, I think that we're reading, yes, Amelia.
I know what order they go in because Dad has us always do them in that order. Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, Silver Chair, Horse and His Boy, Magician's Nephew, and Last Battle.
Yes, so Magician's Nephew will come almost at the very end. Yeah. My brain is too old to remember the whole order anymore. Okay, so let us go to questions. So Lydia, you were very correct, and Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. So let's talk about this home that they are kind of evacuated to. Somebody give me just your own kind of description of this older home that we're talking about. Savannah, why don't you take that one?
Well, like you said, it's a much older home. It's really big. It's like a mansion, and it has all the different doors and passages leading to different rooms.
Right.
And it's pretty confusing. And that's when they were sort of just playing hide and seek in it because it was such a big house with lots of hiding places and stuff.
Yeah, lots of places to explore and see, yeah. Right? So on their first night there, Peter, we see him say, here's a quote I've written down. He says, "We've fallen on our feet and no mistake." What does he mean by that? When they're kind of going to bed that first night, what does he mean by that? Yes, Amelia, people do come into it. Yeah, go ahead, Amelia.
Like, they're at a house that's really neat. There's a stream in the garden. There's mountains in the background. The guy who owns it is really pretty nice. They could have gotten shipped off to a tiny little house with nasty people and a bunch of other kids they didn't know, or gotten split up, and that would have been really terrible.
Exactly. They're in a place and he thinks it's pretty cool, right? He thinks that there's a lot they're going to be able to do there, that they're going to be able to pass their time quickly there. So he's very, very excited about that. So there, once we kind of get moving along into the story, let's talk about the witch before we kind of go into Narnia. Somebody describe the witch to me. What do we know about this witch? Savannah?
Well, as far as what she looks like, we know that she's really pale, except for her lips. She has really bright red lips. And she's not a good person at all to Narnia. I mean, hence that she's called the witch. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good description. The White Witch, very mean. Yes. So very jaded. Now, we've talked about the kids, we've talked about the witch, and Amelia said earlier they could have gone to someone else's house who was terrible or whatever. Who owns this house that they've been sent to? Describe him to me. Amelia, do you want to take that one?
All right. He's an old professor. He has white curly. I imagine him with white curly hair for some reason. Beard and spectacles, and he sits in his chair smoking his pipe. And actually, a lot of people used to think that C.S. Lewis was like that guy.
Yeah. And can't you guys come see that? See C.S. Lewis kind of being the professor? I can definitely see him being the professor.
My question is, if he's a professor, does he ever go and teach at his school or something?
You know, isn't that funny? I don't know if we ever see him throughout the books leaving to go to work. I don't know if we ever see that, but we're just going to assume maybe he's on sabbatical during all this time. So, okay. So as these kids, now that we've kind of introduced a good chunk of the characters in the first part that you guys have read, let's talk about what happened. So what does Peter, our oldest Pevensey child, what does he suggest that they do on their first rainy day? Lydia, what do they do on their first rainy day?
I think at first they decided to explore, and then they came to the room for the wardrobe, and I was like, "There's nothing here," and they turned back, but Lucy decided to stay.
They were going to explore for sure. And Lucy decides to stay. And what does she find inside this room, inside the wardrobe? What does she find in the wardrobe that makes her kind of interested, Savannah?
Well, at first she finds that she's searching for like the back of the wardrobe, but there's no back, so she thinks it's a really big wardrobe. That she finds out that it's not just a wardrobe.
And what does she see before she gets to the back? When she opens it, what does she see in there that makes her really interested in it?
I don't remember. She sees she sees trees at first, or she feels.
Before she actually gets to the back, right when she opens it up, Amelia's dying to tell us. Tell us, Amelia.
Fur coats. Because she
sees all the beautiful fur coats. Remember, she opens it up and she's like, "Oh, look at these beautiful fur coats." So before she goes in, and you're right, Savannah, she notices that there's a big wardrobe. She's like, "Oh, this is bigger than it looks from the front." Before she goes, or when she goes into the wardrobe, she takes two big precautions. What precautions does she take? Lydia, do you remember? And why might she have taken these precautions?
So I remember one of them. So it's obviously it's foolish to lock oneself in the wardrobe.
Right. So she leaves the door kind of ajar and open. All right. Maybe to keep from locking herself in. And what else does she do? She's kind of getting through those fur coats. What does she do?
I think she has her hands in front of her, so she knows what she's feeling, so she doesn't fall or something.
Yeah, so she's trying to kind of feel her way through the wardrobe to kind of keep herself from running into the wall, right? Because she thinks, "Oh, I'm getting ready to smack it," right? So her hands are out there. So she doesn't run into the wall. She actually goes into Narnia, right? So Narnia has some landmarks that kind of border Narnia. We all should know those landmarks. Who knows what they are? What are the borders of Narnia? Amelia?
The lamppost in Cara Paravel, and I think mountains.
Right. So, yep. And we need to know the lamppost and then the castle Cair Paravel, which is on which sea? Does anybody know which sea the castle is on? North, east, south, west? What do you know, Amelia?
East Sea.
The Eastern Sea. Very, very good. Okay.
This comes from the east.
Yes. Yes. So as our sweet little Lucy, who is my favorite, goes into Narnia, who does she see and what does this person call her, Savannah?
She sees the little fawn with the back legs of I don't remember what he described them as.
And what is our fawn? What is the name of our fawn?
Oh, I just forgot the name.
Mr. T.
Oh.
Mr. Tumnus.
I don't remember it.
His name is Mr. Tumnus. And what does he call Lucy, or what does he call most human girls?
Doesn't he call her the daughter of Eve?
The daughter of Eve. Yes, he does. So there he brings her home and he's very caring for her and offers her sweets and something to drink. And he does something that makes Lucy lose her time after they drink the tea. Timmy, tell me in the chat, what does Mr. Tumnus do to make her lose time so that she daydreams and forgets about the time? What is he doing to make her do that? Yes, he does. He plays a flute to kind of help her forget about the time. So we learned from Mr. Tumnus that the White Witch has cast a spell over Narnia. Lydia, what is the spell that's cast over Narnia?
That there's always snow and there's no Christmas.
Yeah, so there's always winter, never Christmas. And we also learned that Mr. Tumnus fears that the White Witch is going to do something to him if she gets extra and especially angry. What is he afraid of, Amelia?
He is afraid of being turned to stone.
Yeah, he's afraid of being turned to stone for sure. So once Lucy goes back, what do her siblings think about the fact that she has found this new place in Narnia? What do they think about, Savannah?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. So once she kind of comes back from Narnia and tells her siblings, what do they think about her story? What happened?
Well, they don't believe her
I know.
first.
Yeah, they don't believe her and they think that she's making it up, right? So then they decide to go into the wardrobe. And Lucy's excited. She's like, okay, finally, I'm gonna show them, bless it, we are gonna go in this wardrobe. We're going to Narnia. Lydia, what happens the first time they all go into the wardrobe together?
So the first time they just saw the back of the wardrobe, Lucy saw it. And she just like, there's nothing here, Lou.
That's right. There's nothing there. And then Edmund follows Lucy to the wardrobe. Why does he follow her? What is he planning on doing to her when he follows her in there? Amelia, what do you think he's going to do?
When he plans on following her, he's gonna pretend like he's gonna spend more time making fun at her and saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
I think I see something." Da, da, da.
Yeah, he's going to make fun of her. That was his main plan for going in there, right? So when he can't find Lucy, what does he think that she's doing?
Hiding. Oh, do you want me
Yeah,
to
you
answer?
can go ahead. Mhm.
She's hiding in the back of the. He thinks she's hiding in the back of the wardrobe and pouting.
Yes, absolutely. And then what game were the kids playing when Lucy and Edmund went into the wardrobe together? What game were they playing, Savannah?
Hide and seek.
They were playing hide and seek. Very good. Very good job. So, we talked about Mr. Tumnus calling Lucy a daughter of Eve. Lydia, tell me what the inhabitants of Narnia call people. What do they call girls and what do they call boys?
So they call the girls daughters of Eve and they call the boys sons of Adam.
Sons of Adam and daughters of Eve. That's right. And then we see Edmund going into Narnia. He's found Narnia and he runs into our favorite White Witch there. The only White Witch, right? Our favorite White Witch. And then what does the White Witch offer to Edmund? Savannah?
Doesn't she offer him a bunch of food? And
What kind of food? What kind of food does she give him?
Oh, it was the.
Starts with a
feel
T.
I imagine it as like some kind of like a type of pie or something that was like juicy with like berries and stuff. But I can't remember what it was called.
That's how we call it Turkish delight. Turkish delight. And she actually enchants the candy, right? Because he just wants more and more and more and more of it, right? That's all he can think about is wanting more and more and more and more of that. So what does the queen promise to Edmund? Promise to Edmund while they're meeting together and she's feeding him. Lydia, do you remember that?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I was typing.
So while the White Witch is talking and feeding Edmund, what does she promise Edmund about his siblings?
Oh, yeah, if he brings them to her all three of them, then she can give him more Turkish delight.
More Turkish delight and make them all royalty, right? She says, oh, it's going to be such a great kind of place for them. So in our last chapter, what does Edmund tell the other siblings when Lucy says that he had also been to Narnia? Amelia, what does he say?
He says that he really hasn't been in Narnia and that they were in the wardrobe pretending. Here's what I don't get. Why is he such a nasty little kid? He's like,
He is. He is. And for the first, and this is why we kind of start with this book too, because it's a very natural inclination to dislike Edmund in the beginning. So yes, he told a fib, he lied, and he was not telling the truth, and said that Lucy was not telling the truth, and that there was nothing in the wardrobe, right? So that's what he says. So based on what we read in the book, what do these characters mean when they use the word mad? Do they mean mad like I'm angry? When they say mad, which they use a lot, what do they mean when they say the word mad, Savannah?
Well, they mean like crazy, kind of.
Crazy or insane, that sort of thing, yes. Let's talk a little bit about, we feature a lot more of the professor in chapter 5 than in many of the other chapters. What does the professor say should be taught at all schools? What's he a big proponent of? I mean, he's a big proponent of education, but he says a certain subject. Amelia?
logic.
Logic. He just loves some logic. He believes that logic should be taught in all the schools, right? And does the professor believe Lucy? Does he believe that Lucy's telling the truth, Savannah?
Yeah, he does.
He does. Yes, Timmy, he does. And what was Mrs. McCready doing? Timmy, I'm going to give this one to you. When all the children at the end of chapter 5 were forced to go into the wardrobe together, when we get into the really good stuff, but that's further than what we've read. But Timmy, what was Mrs. McCready doing when they were all forced to go into the wardrobe together? We kind of hinted at this earlier. Yeah, she was giving a tour of this big, huge, honking house, right? Very good job. Let me make sure I'm not missed any questions. Okay, I think that's it. So I'm going to give you guys, it's 2:13. I'm going to give you about a 5-minute break, and then we're going to come back and play our flip quiz and talk about your homework. So you guys take about a 5-minute break, and we'll be back at around 2:17-ish. Okay? Yes, Amelia.
I was just waving.
Oh, okay. Okay, guys, I want to share my screen with you guys so I can quickly go over your homework with you. Can everybody see my screen? Yes. Okay, good. So, of course, you guys are going to be reading chapters 6 through 12 this week. You should have read up to chapter 5. You do have a weekly quiz, which is week 14. It's right here. And then I have included some things over here on the side for you guys. Our regular vocabulary review game that we do in class, the PowerPoint. But I've also included a link to some games for you all for that are outside of this class for C.S. Lewis and for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and the Chronicles of Narnia. So if you want to take some of those games and play them on your own time, that would be great. Or if you don't, either way, they're there. So anybody have any homework questions as we begin to start this new book? Just go ahead and raise your hand if you have any. Otherwise, I'm going to share our flip screen quiz with you. Lydia, are you saying yes, you do, Lydia, or no, you're talking not to me? Yes, Amelia.
So me and Timmy got done with our one interp of Magician's Nephew, and I was wondering when you would want that, and we actually did win first place for it.
Yay! You can probably just wait until we get there, if that's okay with you guys. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's play our review game really quickly. I've got Amelia, Savannah, Lydia, Timmy. That's the order that we'll go in. So Amelia, we've got vocabulary, the witch, the wardrobe, and the kids.
Can I do the witch for 500?
The witch for 500. So true or false? We can make the assumption that the white witch and the queen are the same person.
True.
Yes, that is very, very true for sure. Okay, so next is Savannah.
The wardrobe for 500.
Okay. What game were the children playing when Lucy and Edmund went into the wardrobe?
Hide and seek.
Hide and seek. Okay, Lydia?
The kids for 500.
Okay. What did Peter suggest the children do for fun during their first rainy day?
To explore the house.
Explore the house, look around, all the exciting stuff. Okay, Timmy? Timmy says it's not bad, Timmy. No. The witch for how much? The witch for 400. Okay. What character flaws do we see when Edmund joins the white witch on her sled? So we didn't talk about this, but what do we see in Edmund when he joins her on the sled that are not so positive? He is selfish. Yes, he becomes very selfish. He becomes a little gluttonous, irritable, unforgiving, prideful, naive. We see all the bad character traits come out in him, don't we? Okay, Amelia.
Can I do vocabulary for 500?
You may. A source of harm or ruin. Poison. It's very ironic that you received this word just now, by the way, based on your conversation with Timmy earlier. Hint, hint. Starts with a B.
Bane.
Bane. Bane of my existence. Yeah. Okay, Savannah.
The kids for 400.
All right. What does the professor think about Lucy's claim that she has been to Narnia?
He believes it and he thinks that she's not making it up.
Yeah, he believes she's telling the truth. Very good. Okay, Lydia.
Wardrobe for 400.
All right. Why does Edmund follow Lucy into the wardrobe?
So he first follows her so he can make fun of her, but then when he doesn't find her, he thinks she's just hiding and crying somewhere.
To tease her. Okay, Timmy. Timmy says the witch 300. Okay. How does the white witch lure Edmund into her clutches? What does she do, Timmy? Oh, sorry, had to tell my kids something really quick. She gives him candy, not just any candy, yes. So she gives him candy, she offers him food and drink, she flatters him, all of those things. Yes. Okay, Amelia.
Can I do vocabulary for 400?
Yes. A connected series of military operations forming a distinct phase of war or to bring a particular result. I believe it starts with a C.
Campaign.
Very nice job. All right, Savannah.
The wardrobe for 300.
Okay. What did the other children find when they went into the wardrobe the first time?
My birds are squawking. They found, well, Narnia.
The first time.
Fur coats.
Yeah, they didn't find anything. Remember, that was the time that they just kind of found a normal wardrobe, no entrance to Narnia, none of that. Okay, Lydia.
The kids for 300.
Yes, and I've had Turkish delight. It's not that good. It's kind of corn syrupy. Ugh. Okay, Lydia, what do the inhabitants of Narnia call human males and females? I think you've had this one before.
So males they call sons of Adam, and females they call daughters of Eve.
Yeah, very good. All right, Timmy. Timmy wants the kids for 200, okay? Why were the children sent to live outside the city? Because of the war. What specifically? I'm going to give this to you, but yes, the war. It was the German Blitz, that bombing of London, that made it necessary for them to be evacuated. All right, Amelia.
Can I do vocabulary for 300?
I knew you were going to choose that. A military blockade of a city or fortified place to compel it to surrender. Starts with an S.
Siege.
Siege. Very good. Very good. Okay, Savannah. Oh, you're muted, love.
There we go. Sorry. The witch for 200.
The witch for 200. Okay. What does Mr. Tumnus fear that the white witch will do to him if she gets extra and especially angry?
He is afraid that she'll turn him into stone.
Correct. Very true. Okay, Lydia.
The wardrobe for 200.
Okay. What precaution did Lucy take when she entered the wardrobe and why? How are you getting the same questions you got earlier? That's so odd.
So there were two. One, she put her hands in front of her so she wouldn't hit the back of the wardrobe, so she thought. And then the other one, she didn't close the door behind her.
To keep her from getting locked in. Very good. Okay, Timmy. The Witch 100. I think Timmy's ran this category. What is the spell that the White Witch has cast over Narnia? What spell has the White Witch cast over Narnia, Timmy? Always fall and never Thanksgiving. Yes. That it is always winter and never Christmas. Okay, Amelia.
All right. Vocabulary for 200.
Extraordinary in bulk, quantity, or degree. obsolete.
Is it supposed to be obsolete or absolute?
It might be absolute. I have to look. Close your eyes real quick. Don't come back up yet. Hold on. And I'll tell you. Yeah, I don't think that one was correct. Just use the first part. Extraordinary in bulk, quantity, or degree.
Wait a minute. Why don't I? Where? I want to say voluminous.
It's not voluminous.
I don't know. I don't know.
How about prodigious? Prodigious. All right, Savannah.
Can I have the kids for 100?
The kids for 100. Okay. What are the children's names in the book?
Okay. Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy.
Very good. Very good. Lucy's my favorite. Okay, Lydia.
The wardrobe for 100.
Okay. What items in the wardrobe made Lucy want to step inside?
It was the fur coats, right?
The fur coat. Yes. All right, and Timmy, you are going to get the last vocabulary, which is you got earlier. Small, common, or harmful or objectionable animals such as lice or fleas that are difficult to control. You know this. Vermin. Yes, it is vermin. Very good. Very good. Okay, let's add up totals. Who's got what? I'm anxious to hear. Everybody did really good today. Lydia says, I don't know if that's good. Okay, Amelia has 1,700. Savannah has 1,500. Lydia is furiously adding on her adding machine. Timmy, how many do you have? Oh, Lydia's adding up. Hang on. Amelia says Timmy has 1,000. Then 1,100 and hold on, I was going 1,600. Oh, yay. Okay, well, you guys were very close. All right, Lydia and Amelia, very nice job. Good job. Okay, so next week is our last week of class. So be furiously reading, be studying your vocab. When we get off here, I'm going to send you guys my vocab so that you will have it to study from. If you don't have any questions, you may go. I'm going to hold on here until everybody's gone, but have a good week. I'll see you on our last week next week. Yay. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for class.
Thank you.
Hi.
See you
So I was like thinking about That Hideous Strength, and I was thinking, because they were talking about all the different movies, and I was thinking, what does it take to get film rights to something anyway?
That's a good question. I imagine they would probably have to write the Lewis Institute and ask for rights to do a screenplay, and then they would probably have to get it approved through the Institute. It'd probably take a very large concerted effort.
A lot of younger people just go on YouTube and make videos
Right.
without getting any kinds of rights or anything.
True. And I think that's different for like a motion picture. However, they did it for Lion, Witch in the Wardrobe and Prince Caspian and all that. They would do probably the same thing.
I feel like it would be almost cooler animated though, because there's something about Lewis's stories that really lends themselves to animation for some reason. Like, I don't know why, but I feel like almost animated Narnia books are cooler than live action because it's more,
Mm.
you can make people do stuff a lot easier and it looks more like almost innocent. Do you
Mm.
like, we have like an animated Lion
And
the Witch
especially that set of books, just because of the descriptive analysis of it all. You know how it describes the waves and the islands, and that whole set of books has a lot of description where animation would probably play out really well because of the colors of it all and the description of it all.
and it would be fun because you can stylize it more and make it more artistic, whereas doing all the computer animation as well, you did a bunch of computer animation. And I
Right.
mean, in stuff, it's funner to do movies with it because it's like serious and like end of the world and like millions of battles. But this is more
Mhm.
like, it's, despite the fact that the space trilogy has like darker themes, it's, there's also some kind of, there's a strange like, it just, it